Sometimes the hardest word to say is enough. Yet it's often the most necessary. There's a delicate line between forgiveness and self-preservation. Honoring our worth means learning when to walk away, not out of bitterness, but from a place of self-respect. Through the lens of Stoic wisdom, we understand that this isn't about being cold or unforgiving. It's about protecting our mental and emotional well-being. In a perfect world, we'd forgive and move on with ease. But life isn't always so kind. Some wounds run too deep, and trying to repair them can cause more pain than healing. That's why setting boundaries is essential. It's a form of self-care that shields us from repeated harm. Stoicism, a philosophy rooted in virtue, rationality, and clarity, teaches us to see things as they truly are, not as we hope they'll be. While love or hope may tempt us to give others second chances, Stoicism urges us to look at behavior patterns and weigh risks realistically. Before we open the door to someone who's hurt us in the past, we must pause and reflect. In this reflection, we'll explore 12 key points to help guide that decision with wisdom and self-respect. Change takes time, the Stoic and psychological perspective. As we embark on this transformative journey together, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a moment of this exploration. Each part holds a key to unlocking the Stoic strength within you, a strength grounded not in quick fixes, but in deep, enduring growth. When we talk about change, especially the kind that reshapes lives, there's a common myth we need to dispel: the idea that change happens instantly. That someone wakes up one day and is suddenly transformed, as if flipping a switch. But real, lasting change rarely works that way. This truth echoes from the writings of ancient Stoic philosophers to the studies of modern psychologists. Change is a slow, deliberate, and often difficult process. True transformation demands more than a fleeting wish or emotional promise. It requires consistent effort, unwavering commitment, and the resilience to keep going even when progress isn't visible. This is especially important to remember when we're faced with the decision to let someone back into our lives after they've caused harm. It's tempting to believe that they've changed. Hope can be persuasive, but both Stoicism and psychology urge us to move with caution and clarity, keeping true to your values. Carl Jung, the influential Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This powerful quote reminds us that transformation is an intentional act. It's not enough to want to be better, one must choose, daily, to act differently, to show up as a better version of themselves. Understanding how rare and gradual real change is helps us make wiser, more informed choices about who we allow into our lives. Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, taught that virtue is not something we are born with, but something cultivated through habit and repetition. This insight is crucial when considering second chances. Has the person in question shown steady, meaningful effort to change? Or are they merely making empty promises? It's also important to acknowledge that genuine growth often requires external support, a therapist, a mentor, or a structured environment. This doesn't diminish the sincerity of one's efforts, rather, it underscores the complexity of human behavior and the multi-layered nature of personal development. The significance of genuine regret. When it comes to change, especially change that addresses harmful patterns or deep-seated behaviors, we must remember that it rarely happens quickly. Real transformation is slow, unfolding through a series of intentional daily choices. Often, these changes are subtle, almost imperceptible, yet they accumulate over time to steer a person in a new direction. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely noted, no great thing is created suddenly. This truth reminds us that patience, self-awareness, and a realistic understanding of personal growth are essential when evaluating ourselves and others. In the context of relationships, especially when someone has hurt us or broken our trust, we often find ourselves at a crossroads. One path may lead to the possibility of healing and reconciliation, but it also requires us to ask, at what cost? If restoring a relationship means compromising our values or betraying who we are at our core, the price may be too high. Stoicism teaches us to look inward for clarity, asking ourselves whether our choices align with our character and values. If they don't, we risk losing more than just peace, we lose our sense of integrity. Understanding forgiveness versus reunion. Forgiveness and reunion are not the same. Forgiving someone can be a quiet, internal act of letting go of resentment, while reuniting with them involves reopening the door to your life. Marcus Aurelius, another Stoic thinker, offered a guiding principle: if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Applying this wisdom as a litmus test can clarify our most difficult decisions. Should we allow this person back in? Have they shown genuine regret through actions, not just words? This clarity demands courage, the courage to uphold our values even when it's uncomfortable or emotionally challenging. Giving someone a second chance should never come at the cost of our principles. Stoicism reminds us that our integrity is non-negotiable. Every decision we make reflects who we are. If we begin compromising our values, we not only betray ourselves, but we also teach others that it's acceptable to ask us to do so. Still, holding firm doesn't mean being rigid or unkind. Stoicism doesn't reject forgiveness or compassion, instead, it calls us to find balance, to be firm in principle, yet compassionate in understanding. This is where true wisdom and emotional resilience lie. Addressing deep-rooted problems. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." This profound statement captures the essence of Stoic philosophy and its guidance on handling complex emotional challenges, especially those related to forgiveness and personal boundaries. The Stoics didn't view forgiveness as a passive or emotional act, but rather as a deliberate, rational decision based on observable truth. Forgiveness, in the Stoic framework, is earned through accountability and authentic remorse. Seneca echoed this sentiment with the words, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." But this kindness, as Stoics understood it, isn't blind. It isn't about blindly excusing harmful behavior. It's grounded in discernment. True kindness involves recognizing when a person has demonstrated sincere regret, not only through their words but through their consistent actions. Genuine remorse is transformative. It carries the weight of self-awareness, empathy, and a willingness to make amends. Saying "I'm sorry" isn't enough. Real regret involves feeling the impact of one's actions and taking tangible steps to ensure they're not repeated. That kind of sincerity can be felt, it resonates. It's this kind of foundation that trust, though fragile, can begin to rebuild upon. The crucial role of rejection for self-respect. Why is genuine regret so essential in the process of forgiveness? Because it shows the person isn't simply trying to ease their guilt or gain re-entry into our lives. Instead, it reflects a deeper understanding, a capacity for growth and true accountability. This makes rebuilding trust possible. Trust, once broken, becomes incredibly fragile. Without evidence of genuine remorse, trying to restore it becomes not only difficult but potentially harmful. In a world where forgiveness is sometimes mistaken for weakness, it's vital to recognize that choosing to forgive can be one of the strongest acts we undertake. It reflects our ability to release bitterness and choose inner peace. But forgiveness must be grounded in reality. If the other person refuses to take responsibility or shows no real change, forgiving them without discernment becomes an empty gesture, one that risks further pain rather than healing. Characteristics and the nature of change. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. This distinction is crucial yet often misunderstood. Forgiveness is internal, it's a decision to release resentment for your own peace of mind. It's a gift you give to yourself, not necessarily to the other person. Reconciliation, on the other hand, involves a decision to re-establish a connection, and that requires trust, respect, and mutual growth. As Marcus Aurelius taught, wisdom and judgment are essential. Just because you forgive doesn't mean you forget, nor does it mean you must re-engage. Forgiveness heals the self. Reconciliation, however, demands careful, honest evaluation. Can trust be rebuilt? Have both people grown? Is the relationship rooted in mutual respect or fear of loneliness? Letting go doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes, it means moving forward with peace, wisdom, and strength. Learning from past experiences. Forgiveness is a personal journey, one that leads us back to inner peace. Reconciliation, however, is a mutual decision, a path walked by two people committed to creating a healthier, more respectful relationship. Sometimes, the most loving thing we can do, for ourselves and for the other person, is to forgive without reuniting. It's possible to wish someone well, hope for their growth, and release any lingering bitterness without needing them to remain in our lives. Life has a way of presenting us with repeated challenges, especially in relationships where harmful behaviors appear as recurring patterns. These moments feel like unwelcome guests that never quite leave. Stoic philosophy encourages us to confront these patterns with honesty and courage. Chronic issues rarely disappear on their own. Like shadows, they linger until we shine light on them and take deliberate action. This doesn't mean we resign ourselves to ongoing pain, it means we gain the wisdom to set boundaries, to recognize when change is unlikely, and to protect our well-being accordingly. Seneca wisely advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. It's a simple yet powerful reminder that the people we surround ourselves with have a profound impact on our lives. When someone repeatedly harms us or violates our trust, Stoic wisdom urges us not to ignore the pattern but to learn from it, to grow stronger, and to move forward with clarity. This principle applies not only in our relationships but in every area of life where recurring challenges arise. We are called not just to react to life's difficulties, but to anticipate them, prepare for them, and avoid them when we can. The importance of pausing before reacting. Recognizing patterns and making informed decisions doesn't make us cold-hearted. It makes us wise. While we can extend compassion and hope for others' growth, we cannot take their journey for them. Change must come from within, and each person must walk their own path. In a world that often pressures us to say yes, drawing boundaries can feel like rebellion. Yet Stoicism teaches us that saying no is not only powerful, it's necessary. Every time we say yes to something that violates our limits, we say no to our own peace, self-respect, and well-being. As Seneca put it, if you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place but to be a different person. That change begins with honoring our limits and protecting our inner peace. Balancing emotion and reason, living stoically in a modern world. In a world that often equates saying yes with kindness, success, or even love, learning to say no can feel almost rebellious. But true self-respect begins with how we treat ourselves, and that includes knowing when and how to set boundaries. Saying no starts with clarity about our values, our priorities, and our limits. It requires an honest conversation with ourselves and others about what we can and cannot accept if we want to stay aligned with our authentic selves. The Stoics remind us that our first duty is to our virtue and peace of mind. This doesn't mean shutting ourselves off from the needs of others or becoming cold or selfish. It means making decisions from a place of discernment rooted in wisdom, self-respect, and the life we wish to lead. The Stoic approach encourages us to accept what we cannot change while taking thoughtful action on what we can. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This insight is especially important when we think about human relationships and transformation. Change is not a matter of willing something to be different overnight. Understanding that core personality traits are deeply rooted helps temper our expectations of ourselves and of others. The Stoics saw personal growth as a process similar to tending a garden. We can nourish, prune, and support growth, but we cannot expect an oak tree to become a pine. Epictetus wisely said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." This isn't a call to complacency, it's a challenge to work with our nature, not against it. Growth is possible, but it must align with who we are at our core. Seneca adds further clarity: if you really want to change your life, you must first be willing to change your mind. Real transformation begins within, not with dramatic external change, but with an internal commitment to slow, steady development. The Stoics were deeply reflective about the patterns we experience in life. History often repeats itself, they knew. When we find ourselves faced with a choice, such as giving someone a second chance, we are invited to pause and reflect. Marcus Aurelius compared time to a river, a strong, rushing current where no event lingers for long. Yet within that flow, we can observe cycles and behaviors. Before reconciling with someone, we must ask, have their actions changed, or are their promises just leaves on the water, easily swept away? Trust, to the Stoic mind, is not earned through words but through consistent action. Seneca noted, "Life's like a play, it's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters." When someone seeks a second chance, it's the quality and integrity of their actions, not the eloquence of their apologies, that count. This reminds us to pause, to weigh our decisions, and to act from thoughtful observation rather than emotional impulse. The Stoics understood that emotions, while natural and important, can often cloud our judgment when left unchecked. Marcus Aurelius offered a timeless reminder: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This statement is the cornerstone of Stoic thought. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. When emotions like anger, longing, or hope push us toward hasty decisions, we are called to step back, reflect, and consult not just our feelings, but our values and wisdom. Epictetus warned against being carried away by your desires, as if you were a feather in the wind. The decision to reconcile, or to let go, should never be a reaction to passing emotions but a thoughtful response grounded in personal growth, experience, and clarity about the future we desire. Life's unpredictability, like the sea's shifting tides, reminds us that even with our best intentions, outcomes are never guaranteed. Seneca put it best: luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. This is not passive resignation, it's an invitation to prepare for both opportunity and adversity, engaging with life as it comes while remaining anchored in our values. The Stoic path is not about emotional suppression, it's about integration. Emotions are to be acknowledged, understood, and then balanced with reason. As Marcus Aurelius reflected, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Thoughtful decision-making means allowing emotions and reason to inform one another. Emotions can alert us to our needs, values, and concerns. Reason gives us the perspective to make choices aligned with our long-term well-being. This balance takes practice. It begins with awareness, pausing before reacting, examining our emotions with compassion, and using our rational minds to make sound decisions. It's this daily practice of mindfulness, discipline, and reflection that empowers us to live fulfilling, intentional lives. One of the most profound decisions we make in life is who we allow into our inner circle. Here, Stoicism reminds us that we play an active role in shaping our destiny. Seneca urged, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." We must choose people who uplift, respect, and support our growth. This is not about exclusion or arrogance, it's about self-care and the recognition that our time and energy are precious. Epictetus emphasized focusing on what is within our control. We may not control others' actions, but we absolutely control our responses, including the choice to end or redefine relationships. Choosing not to give someone a second chance is not an act of cruelty, it's a declaration of self-respect. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not synonymous. Forgiveness is something we do for ourselves to release bitterness and find peace. Reconciliation, on the other hand, involves careful consideration of trust, behavior, and mutual respect. The Stoics teach that we can forgive and still maintain distance when necessary. Ultimately, Stoicism invites us not just to learn, but to transform. To become authors of our own lives. To embrace each moment with awareness, integrity, and purpose. Let this be your reminder: you are the sculptor of your destiny. Carve it with intention.